You are looking live at a chart from Axon Enterprises, which is actually Taser from back in 2004. I'm just doing this exercise because I was asked if SMCI was an exhaustion gap and if they should sell and what's going on with SMCI. Okay, so I'm just going to point out that Taser is one of the model book stocks from its era. Like I said, 2004, as we were coming out of that nasty bear market from the dot-com crash and the 9/11, the terrible events of 9/11, which stalled our economy for 18 months or so. But anyway, this stock went from like $3 in August to $64 in April. Sound familiar? It had this nice run up. The 33 then pulled back and then started really climbing. I just wanted to point out one thing right here, this exhaustion gap where it just went above this area here, and just etch that into your mind because I just did a screenshot of it. I didn't want to go back and forth, toggle back and forth between it. But it was like $50, and then the low of this day was like 51, and then it ran up, and the next day it ran up again, and then fell out of bed, and went down like 20 something percent in a day. So you definitely want to avoid that. You definitely want to sell early into the strength and not wait for that, get greedy and wait for that one day where it comes, as John Cougar Mellencamp sang, when it all comes tumbling down. So you want to avoid that. I'm just doing this exercise because I was asked to. I'm not saying that SMCI is an exhaustion gap. But let's take a look at what we have here today because it has made a big move. Yeah, 357 was the buy in the breakout. Now it's running higher, and it had this exhaustion gap this morning. I shouldn't call it an exhaustion gap. It had a gap this morning. The high yesterday was $800. The low today was 820.88. So it's a $20 gap here. Will the gap be filled? Sure it will. At some point, I don't know when. This thing could go straight to 900 or 1,000 before it craps out. One thing to note differently than if you looked at that Taser chart that I didn't point out was the volume. The volume in SMCI is just massive. There's a lot of buyers coming in here. I don't think they're short sellers. I think this is institutional support. And if I look at the owners here, we got, the Lord on our side. Look at the increasing, from last year, December of 2022, it had a 541. Last December, it doubled, the funds that it has. It's got some big time growth fund managers that own it, probably increasing once we find out in March. But I'm just saying, be mindful, there is a gap there. I'm not saying that's an exhaustion gap. I own the stock. I mean, I told you yesterday that it had that support there at the what was it, 745 level here, and it opened up there 745. So I grabbed it about 760. When it went to 860, I had to sell those shares. I mean, $100 in a day, it's just it seems like monopoly money at that point. But I still have my original shares from 357. So that was just like a little trade called trading around a core. Man, yeah, it's up, after hours. Like I said, it can go to 900. I know a lot of people own calls in it. I know people own the stock and just are really worried about it. But to me, it's I just wanted to show an exhaustion gap. That is a gap higher. I'm not calling it an exhaustion gap because there's big institutions that are still buying this thing. So if I go back to, yeah. So you can see here the big sellers, and it doesn't have the volume profile. And I know volume is very controversial right now because of the options market. And the data is not like it once was back in like the Taser days, but just something to be mindful of. And this thing could gap tomorrow as well, up to, like I said, 900, 950, 1,000. They can announce the stocks, but they can announce contracts with Google and Amazon. We don't know. But I'm just talking technically, it did have a nice gap there of $20, as you see. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to move on to the Nasdaq. Yesterday, you know, the CPI came out and the algo has just sold everything, right? It's time to sell, time to sell. And that's what happens. You know, when you get a headline like that, the sell program just fire up. But you know, it was just an excuse to pull back. Like I said, the Nasdaq was like 7% on Monday, I believe it was. There's your reversal candle there. Yeah, it was 7% above its 10, and then it, you know, relieved a little bit of the pressure, a little back and fill. Almost came down to the 21 there, and then today got all of the gains back. It was up 200 points, 1.3%, 203 points to be exact, 1.3%. 5,859 was the close. So, you know, this close on, not the close, but the high on Monday was 16,080. And I believe that, you know, it's going to take this old high out of 16,212 as the Dow and the S&P already have. But I'm not going to go to the Dow and the S&P. I don't really care about those indexes. And, you know, I'm kind of pressed for time here. These videos have been going long as I do comparison charts from stocks in, you know, 2004. Apple, like I said, this thing is below its moving average. So, you know, I'm going to take this thing and put it in with Tesla pretty soon. It's just doing absolutely nothing. Microsoft, strong stock. You know, when you have a quote unquote leading stock or a strong stock, you want it to be, you know, kind of up on a day like today. This one sold off, you know, Monday and Tuesday and got some back today, but you wanted a little more with the index up 1.3%. So Microsoft is lagging. Amazon 1.39, just right with the index, just forming that shelf pattern, just like Meta forming that shelf pattern, up 2.86%. So this one's the strongest of those five. I'm going to get to NVIDIA in a minute. Google, Amazon, Meta, Apple, and Microsoft. Google's up only 0.5% today and just kind of going sideways with its moving average there. So not real strong here at NVIDIA. This one and Meta definitely performing nicely at 2.46%. They have earnings next Wednesday, a week from Valentine's Day. So keep mindful of that. I mean, it's had a big move, and so the numbers next week will probably, you know, just justify the move. I'm not expecting a big sell-off or a big ramp higher, but I just expect the report to be very good, and that they're going to guide higher and say a lot of positive things about AI. Anyway, a couple of stocks that I have on my ready list here. This is AMD. I like this thing below, excuse me, as it traded above, you know, this downtrend line. I've been talking about this for a little bit here, this little wedge pattern, and it just kind of broke out today up 4%. Nice move for AMD. And then MRVL is another one that's been on our list. And you know, you got to look at the weekly here. This is a long base, so it's going to take some time. Just flat on the week. But still, you know, I like it. Inside day today. And it still looks good. Okay, I'm going to get to a couple stocks that people have been asking me about. Today was ELF. ELF didn't do anything today, so what? Big deal. It's had an inside day. I talk about this stock every day. As long as these moving averages are, you know, trending higher, it's making higher lows and higher highs. You can see the low of 131. Every week, it's just going higher highs. It had a higher high on Monday, I believe it was. 179.58, which is higher than last week, 175, higher than the week before, 170. So as long as it's got higher highs and higher lows, and the moving averages are trending in the right directions, the stock is going to go higher. It's going to go on its own time though. And I went to the weekly because I wanted to show you the last time that it formed this base here. It was a little bigger base, but it just traded sideways, broke out, and then formed a shelf for like 10 weeks. Now, granted, this was at the end of the 2022 bear market, but it just went sideways. And, you know, after this breakout, it just went sideways before it, you know, resumed its uptrend. And we know what happened in 2023. Now, at the end of 2023, it had this 14-week base, I believe, which is, you know, 3 months, more than 3 month base. pulled back, nice cup with handle, and then ramped higher. Like I said, it made a new high on Monday at 179. So 131 to 179 is a big move. And it might just trade sideways there for a little while. It would not be the end of the world if it traded between 165 and 175 for a little bit. And like I said, the moving averages are trending higher. I'm not worried about ELF. It is on our ready list because it's in a buy zone near that 164 level. Celsius, I had this one on our ready list. It's moved above kind of a buy point. I would just say we had an early entry buy point, but the 6205 is an area of interest. 6299 is an area you could buy. Obviously, the paint by numbers, standard is 68.95 or $69 for Celsius. Okay, Abercrombie and Fitch. This is just a no-brainer. When the index is up 1.3%, Abercrombie's up 2. That's just the way it rolls. Even yesterday, when the index was down, this thing was up. Just a beast, up every day this week. My God, doesn't care. It does not care. Oh, I got to go back to SMCI. One thing I wanted to point out about the stock that I forgot. It's 23% above its 10 EMA, which is really hot. But also, sorry for I digress. I wanted to point this out though. It has been riding its 5. It pulls back almost to its 5. Yesterday it came pretty close. The 5 was 740.43, and it was low was a 745, so pretty close, and then bounced sharply today, as you can see. So maybe it wants higher prices, but just be mindful of it's super hot stock, and it bothers me when it gets so much attention. Anyway, I'm going to move on to some other stocks that people asked me to cover. This is not one that I would hold or even entertain because it's in a downtrend. How do I know it's in a downtrend? Because I'm looking at the moving average, the relative strength line, just trending lower. So this is definitely an avoid. Has a low there of 51.94. Maybe it'll come down and retest that level, but that's an avoid for me right now. STNE, this was on our ready list a couple weeks back, and it ripped higher, so I took it off. And obviously made a nice move, but now is undercut its 50 and rallied back above it today. It's kind of in no man's land. But this is a stock, I believe Warren Buffett still owns it. And it's a Brazilian company, and pretty strong stock, a good stock. Ford, this is one on our ready list. Up 1% today, just an inside day, pulled back to the 21 on Tuesday. So just a quiet day. Earnings coming up. You got to be mindful of that. A couple other ones that I like in the software area is GigaCloud. This one has a habit in the morning. If you watch it, maybe I should go to the 10-minute chart, give a little more data on this. It sells off in the morning, then closes higher, sells off, closes higher. This day, ramped higher, but yesterday sold off, closed higher. Today sold off. There's sellers in the morning, and then buyers come in with GigaCloud. But you can see over time, this thing has been a huge winner and just ramping higher. Let me see. Datadog reported strong earnings, kind of sandbagged their guidance, and then got a lot of upgrades this morning. The stock pulled back to its 50 following its earnings report, rallied hard, just had an inside day today. Datadog, to me, it still looks pretty darn good. ESTC, this is one that's on our ready list as well, as it pulled back to its why it's doing that. Pulled back to its old buy point there, its old pivot on Tuesday at 117. So if you're quick, you could have got it. It bounced off its 21 today. The low is 120, close at 126. $6 bounce. That's a nice bounce. Thank you very much. If you are in ESTC, that was a good move. Net traded below 100 yesterday. I was watching to see how it handled 100 today. It traded below it, 99, then bounced, $5. That's another nice move, a 5% move for Cloudflare. I want to see how it handles that 100 level. Okay, I've got to go to the I'm just going to quickly go through these insurance stocks. Oscar gapped higher 24% on February 8th. Now it's flagging here, making this little flag pattern. I like this pattern. I think, buyers will come back in. 44% sales growth, not bad. You can see the volume profile. Some buyers in Oscar, WTW. Another insurance stock just gapped higher and just ramping higher. Man, if you looked at your insurance bill, you probably know why these insurance companies are doing well. Even Allstate, we're in good hands with Allstate, just trending higher, following its moving averages. And my favorite ticker, BRO, broke out and just trending higher. So insurance stocks look fantastic. The drugs, nothing to say here. Nothing to do. I posted a tweet today about, I haven't posted much because you're just riding these stocks higher. There's nothing to do with Novo Nordisk, but hold it. That's what I'm doing, because I talked about it consolidated while the Nasdaq rallied. And now when the Nasdaq gets a little wonky, this thing rips higher, right? So that one looks fantastic. Eli Lilly, same thing, broke out of this base, just trending higher. A couple of my speculative biotech names. This is Viking. This one's had a monster year so far, up I think nearly 90%. I'm not going to go into it every day, but you know the story behind Viking. And then IOVA, another spec stock. There's some big money in this one, and I find it pretty interesting. So I bought some and just going to hold on to it and see what happens. I bought it small. So these spec stocks I buy small, not big like NVDA and SMCI. Okay, the home builders yesterday with the sell-off, with the CPI, the world's coming to an end. The algos, sell programs, pulled back, and it ramped up, 1.4% today. Lennar still looks good, consolidating in this flat base pattern. Toll Brothers, same thing, consolidating in the flat base pattern. It pulled back to its 50 and then bounced 2.6% today. Builder, First Source, pulled back to its 21. That's a nice bounce, up 2.5% today. And Dream Finder Home, pulled back to the 50, nice bounce today, up 4.6%. So the home builders are definitely rate sensitive group there. The Bitcoin stocks, I don't really cover Bitcoin. I just got to point out, up 14%. As Bitcoin has been rallying, so are these Bitcoin related stocks. I post them in the morning, but I don't own them. I don't buy them, but you got to acknowledge the strength and the power there of these move. MicroStrategy had a big year last year. RIOT's another one. Yeah, 14%. Forming a base here. Maybe I'll put this one on a ready list one of these days, but yeah, it looks pretty good. CrowdStrike, haven't covered this one for a few days. It just pulled back to its 21 and bounced sharply. I think yesterday it was down to 302. Now, $32 move. That's pretty nice from yesterday to today. And then Sentinel-1 made a new high today, and Palo Alto Networks reports next Tuesday. And last time it reported, it sold off, gave you a nice chance to get in, and then ripped higher. So maybe it'll do it again this time. You just have to wait and see the reaction to the news. That's it for me today, except for I lie. In honor of the great Steve Jobs, I have one more thing, and that is Cisco Systems reported after the bell. Looks like a Valentine's Day massacre here, 5% move lower. I think they lowered guidance. And I'm going to have to look into the numbers here after I conclude this video and see what they had to say. That one does not look good. Back in the day, if Cisco did that, the whole market would be down, but I don't think it's going to have that impact. Maybe on the networkers, but certainly not the market. TWLO, this is just a stock that I think they have some activist investors, but obviously they need more work to do. Down more than 6% after hours. So another St. Valentine's Day massacre. Come on, let's get to something moving here. Fastly, okay, moving the wrong way, down 20%. Another St. Valentine's Day massacre, not good. Hubs, I haven't looked at their reports here, up 4%, very nice. $25 move, very nice for HubSpot. So I'm gonna have to look and see. They must have, beat and raised. It's all about the guidance. And the last one is, APP. I put this on our ready list. I didn't realize they had earnings today. Valentine's Day, no massacre here. They're gonna massacre the shorts up at 12.5%. So looks like this one's gonna bounce off its 10 EMA, and you can see why it was on our ready list with this pattern here. But if you bought that and didn't realize there was earnings today, congratulations. Sell into that strength. App, you can see the double bottom, then consolidation. Now it looks like it's gonna move higher above the 50 level. So good for app 11. That's it for me today. Thank you for watching. I'll be back in the morning. I've got to go through some of these earnings reports. It looks like there's the good, the bad, and the ugly here. But anyway, like I said, thank you for watching. And at mcstockcharts.com, we never give up.